Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. Today we are going to paint some macaroons with acrylic paints. So let's get started and grab this sketch in the description below so that you can paint along with me. I'm going to grab a size 0 round brush to start with. And let's put in, I'm going to grab some of this dark brown. Let's put some of that on the right side of this filling. And then as we go towards the left, let's pick up some of this burnt sienna and start adding that in. And then I'm going to pick up some of this yellow and mix that in as well. Okay, and then let's work underneath here. So I'm going to take some of this dark brown and then some of this burnt sienna. And then I'm going to pick up some gray and some of this bluish gray. Put a little bit of that on the right side. And then pick up our yellow. This is a yellow ochre. And I have a mixture of yellow ochre and then some yellow medium in there. And then let's get lighter. So I'll grab some white and start getting lighter as we go towards the left side. And then bring that down. Okay, I'm gonna pick up some of this bright yellow. Just put a little bit of that in there. It's the yellow medium. Okay, now let's do the top. So I'm going to switch brushes. Let's switch to a size 6 filbert. Let's pick up some of this grayish blue color. Put that on the right side. And I'm going to bring a little bit down here to create a little more of a shadow. And now let's pick up the yellow and start blending that in. Be a little bit of gray as well. And then as we go towards the right, let's add some more white. And then start blending that in. And then I'm going to get a little bit lighter. Bring that around this side. Then even lighter with some straight white and put this as a little highlight up here. Okay. And then I'm gonna let's actually take some of this beige and put some of that over this right side. Put some along the bottom too. Okay, so now let's put some texture on there. I have this 0 bristle brush. It's a 0 round bristle brush. And I want it to be kind of dry. Dry brushing this would be ideal. So I'm gonna take this and start putting just these little brush marks along the top to try to create the texture on the macaroon. So we'll go on the top and then also along the bottom. So try to make it look random and try not to make it look too uniform or too straight. Okay, so now let's put some lighter texture on top of that. Let's take some yellow. Mix it with some white. And then start putting that texture in. Can go right on top of this darker texture. Okay, and we probably want to get even lighter towards the left side. So I'm going to put a little bit of white. Then on that left side, let's put a few highlights there. Okay, now let's work down to the next one. I'm going to switch back to my 0 round brush. And let's add the cream here. So I'm going to take some of this gray paint. Add some gray paint. I'm going to add a little bit of this burnt sienna in there. And then use the beige. Start putting that beige in there. Blending everything as we're going. And then pick up some white. I'm going to put the white on top of that and kind of in the middle as well. Then a little bit on this right side. Okay, so that looks good for the cream layer. Now let's go back to the macaroon and I'm going to switch to the size 6 filbert. And let's create a shadow up here. Take some of that burnt umber, some of this gray, and I'm going to take a little bit of this bluish gray. Create a nice shadow here. And then pick up our pink. Start adding that pink in there. Mix it in with those shadows. Then come around this left side. Then along this bottom, I want it to be pretty intense with the pink. And then I'm going to pick up some of the white and start putting that white in towards the center and allow it to blend with the colors on the paper. Try to get close to the edge of the sketch. Okay, and then let's do this one down here at the bottom. So I'm gonna take some of the dark brown, put that underneath, then some of the burnt sienna, use that for a shadow color, and then I'm gonna take some of this purple color. This is a kind of an orchid color, pastel purple. Put some of that under there. And then I want to go back to our pink. And then towards the right side, let's add a little bit more of this purple. And maybe a little bit of the yellow blue as a shadow. And then put a little bit more pink on top of that. Then as I go towards the left side, I want to get lighter. So I'm going to grab some white and start feathering that white in there. Okay, and then allow everything to blend nicely. I'm going to take a little more white and go back and add a little bit of a lighter white color. Maybe a little bit more up here as a highlight. Okay, and then let's add the texture. So for this texture, let's take some of this burnt sienna and see if we can add that as a shadow color. You could also get a little bit darker and add a little bit of the burnt umber in there. We put that a little bit more concentrated towards the right side. And then I'm going to take some of the intense pink and mix that in there as well. Okay, and I think we want to let that dry before we go back and add the lighter value. And let's move down into the purple macaroon. So for that, let's take this burnt sienna, or burnt umber, sorry, and go around the bottom. And then let's add some burnt sienna. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of beige and let's feather some little lines of the beige in there. Okay, and now I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to switch back to that 6 filbert. And let's take some of this dark brown, go along this top area. And then I'm going to take the purplish color, mix it with some of the brown. Start coming down this way. And then I'm also going to mix some burnt sienna in there. And some of this grayish blue. Just bring that shadow down. Okay, and then as we get towards the left, we'll add some more of the purple. And then we'll add a little bit more white and blend that in towards the right area. Take some purple, go around the outside edge. And then add a little bit of white. And then I will come back with some of that dark brown color and just re-emphasize that shadow a little bit more. Okay, and now we can do this area under here. So let's take some of the dark shadow, put that underneath. Then I'm going to take some of this bright pink, put a layer of that under there. And then let's take some of the grayish blue, start mixing that, and some of the purple. And then as we come towards the left, we can get lighter, so we can add some white in towards that center. And then a little more purple around that edge. Okay. And I'm gonna add a little more purple up here. Might need some more layers. Then a little more white. Okay, and now let's go back and work on that texture. So I have this textured brush, and let's pick up some of this pink, mix it with some white. And then take that light pink color and let's start putting that in along this top area here and then along the bottom area. Okay, and then I'm gonna let's add some dark burnt umber to this area down here. This texture. Okay, and we can let that dry. Then I'm going to pick up some white and let's go back over this area. Just add even more of an intense highlight. Okay, and then we need some purple for this area. So I'm going to take that purple, mix that with some white, and then go on top of this darker color. It's better to let it dry before you do this. Okay, so I'm going to take the 0 round brush and let's go back. I'm going to add, let's take a little bit of a beige color with some white, and I want to come back and add a little bit more of a light color to this center. Okay, and then I'm going to come back with some white paint. And with the white paint, I'm going to come back and add a few little white lines just to create some more highlights. And for the bottom, let's add some more texture. I'm going to add a little bit more white texture on top of that darker color. Okay, and then I think I just need a little bit more purple on this bottom macaroon. So I might take some of this bluish gray and mix it with the purple. And then come back down, cover up some of that pink. And then I need to come back with some shadow from the burnt umber. And then transition that shadow and allow it to blend. Okay, so let's take the 0 round. I'm going to take any white that I have left on this palette and come back. Let's actually add some white onto the palette. I'm going to start putting a little bit of that texture onto this bottom one. Try to make it look a little more random. And then let's add some final highlights. So I'm going to put a highlight over here. And then a highlight over here. And then this highlight up here. Okay, you might need to go over that more than once to really emphasize those highlights. Okay, but I think we will call this complete. This is how you can paint some macaroons with acrylic paints. I hope you give it a try. Like and subscribe for more painting tutorials. And if you want to go deeper into acrylic painting, grab my free guide in the description below, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.